You may think that shapes like this are quite complicated to make, and especially when you want to make it curvy and organic and smooth, and you may be thinking, how the hell do I even begin to design something like this, right? But there's a really interesting method that kind of makes it really simple. So that's what I'm going to show you in this video. When you look at something like this, it's just like looking at a model on a reference, okay? You look at the model, you'll see all these details and you're getting confused because there's so much shit going on, all these curves, all this, all this nonsense, and your brain is getting overloaded. Now, what you need to do is you need to simplify it in your head, okay? So what we're looking here at is basically a plane that's curvy on both sides, that was deformed, and that was just simply beveled here all around. And then we have just, one or two extrusions. So let's try to mimic this, right? So we're going to first create a circle, and I'm going to use an add-on called reprimitive, which is free, by the way, which allows you to change the number of verts after you're going to add, an item to an object to your scene, like a cylinder or a circle or whatever. It's really handy, so, get it. And I'm going to move this one, somewhere here on x-axis, okay? You can use Control to snap it to increments, just make sure increments are turned on. I'm going to mirror this to the other side across the my cursor. So I'm gonna go to hard ops and enable additional options here and flip it through cursor to the other side. So boom, right? And I'm going to apply the mirror. Now I'm going to grab these two and I'm going to nuke these verts because we don't need them. And I'm going to combine these with F, all right? So merge them, right? And that's going to be our basic shape. Now I'm going to select all, press F, and I'm going to extrude it to create this kind of a situation. And I'm going to merge all these here like this, right? And merge this here to create quads, all right? Then I'm going to run some loops here in the middle to equalize the, the size of polygons. Run a edge here in the middle with J, and I think we're going to be good to go. We could add another one here, to be honest. So what we could do is we could run another loop here like this, right? And then we're going to have to solve for this triangle. So if you wanted to create, larger polygons, you could. And then all you need to do is solve this triangle here like this by creating a diamond. So GG, GG. Then we get a nice flow here, all around. Let's move our cursor to geometry. Let's mirror this to the other side. That didn't work. Let's move it here to this edge. And then mirror with mesh machine, boom. And you got a beautiful, almost even distribution of polygons. If you really want to be pedantic, what you could do is delete these and redo them here a little bit denser like that. Okay, cool. So that's that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use a tool from hard ops that's for deforming. Okay, so Shift S and cursor to origin. Let me just move this a little bit here, and we're going to rotate this, so R, and we're going to rotate it on X by 90, and we'll apply rotation. We're going to go to hard ops and select this deform modifier, hold control. It's a smart modifier, and we can deform it to, this angle, right? So it's going to kind of more or less match what we have over there. Now what we need to do, we need to select the one in the middle here to create this indentation. We could actually go wider, so Control plus. Actually, we could inset this like this, and then G and Y, and move it in like this, and scale this, right? And if I'm going to subdivide it, you see they're going to start getting closer to what we have over there, right? Now we need to run a bevel here, so Control B and run either 3 or 2 segments. There you go. Let's smooth this. Then we're going to select the middle part here, or actually let's select these, and we're going to move them in. So GY and move them in like this, so indent them, right? Alt X to mirror. Then we're going to select all these from here to here. Hold Shift and Control, boom. We're going to insert this, and then we're going to press G and Y and move it outside. And we can either insert it one more time to make it sharper or not. It's up to you. But this one is actually pretty interesting. I'm gonna like a speaker or some stuff. And there you go. That's how you can create some really cool elements, using very simple techniques. So the idea is that what you want to do is you want to kind of imagine the curvature before you even, or the three-dimensional shape before you're going to start working. I'll show you another example, okay? So the idea is very similar to a cube, and a cube being unwrapped. So if you think about it as, in terms of a cube, you got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides, right? And it's a cube, so it's three-dimensional. But if you go to UV editing, you'll see that this cube can be unwrapped to a shape of a cross. So technically, if I grab the plane, right? So let me just move this cube here. If I grab the plane, right, and I extruded it, like this here, so E and Y, right? And then let me just nuke this, right? And then I extruded it one more time here, so E and Y, and then Shift R, and then grab these and E and X and extrude it here, and then mirrored, right? And I started folding this, okay? So I move a cursor here to edge, and I'm gonna grab that and rotate it on Y by 90 degrees, or minus 90, so RY minus 90. You see where I'm going with this, right? Here, Shift X and to edge, grab this one, RY 90, right? And I'm gonna continue. Eventually, I'm going to create a cube. So if you're going to think about it, this way, and obviously this is too long, so let's just, align this, boom, right? And then I'm gonna close these two. Do you see where I'm going with this, right? So the point is here that when you're modeling and you're seeing some complex shape, right? And you don't know how to approach it, the easiest way to do that is to simply simplify to a 2D plane, and then think how can you unwrap this in a 3D space, and then manipulate with all the faces and all the tools that to create the shape you want. And that's one of the best ways of modeling and creating stuff like car chassis if you don't have a blueprint, right? Or for example some sci-fi engines or guns. So the same thing you can do with a stock, right? You can outline the shape of the stock of a gun stock in 2D, and then convert it to 3D. You can, for example, do the same thing with a gun handle. Like, we're gonna give you one more example, right? So let's say I have a plane here, and I'm going to narrow it down like this, and I'm going to introduce, let's say, 2 loops, and I'm going to scale this here, right, to create more or less a gun handle, right, more or less, right? Then I'm gonna do this, and then all I need to do really is create loops here that going to allow me to bend this shape around, right? So GZ and move it here, grab this one, GZ and move it here. Do you see what I mean? So when you move these edges, the distance between polygons evens out, right? So the size of the polygons becomes larger because you move them, you move these edges in space. The same here, if you do this and maybe a bit closer, and then another edge somewhere here, you can grab this edge and GZ, and then you can align them, right? And then grab this one and then GZ, right? And you can align to this one, okay? Boom, right? And once you do that, and you subdivide it, boom, you have a shape. So you see, instead of creating this shape and struggling with these angles and making sure that everything is perfectly aligned and curved, you simply unwrap this shape in your head to a 2D plane, and then curve it using these basic Blender tools. Now, one more tip I'm gonna give you here, and this is really important, okay? You need to make sure that the edges, and this is really essential, right? So listen closely, that the edges that you're gonna be moving, right, up and down, whatever, to accommodate this curvature, it's really important for these edges to flow along the curvature. So in other words, for example, if I had an edge flowing like this, You see it's gonna create an artifact here because one, we have a triangle which can be solved into a quad like this, but it will not solve the situation, you see. Because this polygon, first of all, is too small and we have an uneven polygon problem. We also have a triangle here, but it doesn't matter really. But the point is that this edge doesn't agree with the flow which goes this way, okay? So what you want is you want topology to support the flow. That's really important, right? So if I was curving this mesh, let's say on this axis here, I would need to fix the flow to support my, I would need to fix the edges to support my flow, yeah? Makes sense? So anyway, I hope it helps you out. And listen, if you want to learn how to model in Blender and you want to learn the basics and you want to get into hard surface modeling, I highly recommend you grab our course, the Hard Surface Accelerator. Now, this course doesn't teach you subdivision modeling. We have a specific course for this. But if you're really new to Blender, I would highly recommend you do not learn subdivision modeling first, unless that's all you're gonna be using. Because subdivision modeling is, I would say, more advanced way of modeling because it's a bit abstract. So you wanna learn all the tools, the workflow, you wanna understand how it all works. And once you do, you can step up higher and tackle more difficult projects, because subdivision modeling can be very frustrating. There's a lot to it. And, if you're more advanced, feel free to grab our subdivision course. But like I said, if you're a beginner or even intermediate and you're still struggling with basics like, shading problems, artifacts, you don't know how to organize your modifiers, you don't know how to really approach your modeling, you're still struggling with shapes and design, I would not recommend going to sub-D modeling, okay? Just master the basics first, then you can, go deeper. Because otherwise you may get frustrated and quit. All right. Now listen, if you want to learn more about how to design in Blender and how to see shapes better, watch this video next, because this one is fantastic. I'm actually breaking down 3 of my models and I'm showing you how to understand references when you're looking at them, so you're not gonna be confused how to approach a model, okay? So watch this video next, it's gonna really help you out if that's what you're struggling with. And I know for a fact that a lot of people are struggling with that. So go ahead and watch this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.